Chirwa, good morning to you. I think congratulations to you on the election and your new position. A lot of issues, though.
Thank you very much, Gareth.
Thank you. A lot of issues you're dealing with, though, out of the pan into the fire, if you will. Recall a call for the president to resign, splitting from the ANC is what seems to have been the big talking point. Take me through those two first. Where and how did you come to that decision?
Look, the Congress attended by more than 1,200 delegates from all our provinces in South Africa, all our regions, all our local convened in that conference to make an assessment of what is the state of the working class and poor people in this country, what is the state of the working class in the Federation, what is the state of the working class beyond South African borders. And amongst those things that we had to do, we had to make an assessment of where we were last year when we had a Congress. You'd remember that this is a special Congress of Numsa. Where we were and where we are today. When we met in the Congress last year in December, there was no Marikana that has happened because we met in June. When we met, it was before the National Conference of Cosatu, which we've came to realize after that conference that indeed Cosatu is paralyzed. There are forces that are hell-bent at ensuring that Cosatu is not able to defend workers. Cosatu is weakened, and there's nobody who could be able to speak for workers. Beyond that, there was no NDP that was adopted by the African National Congress when we met last year in June. Beyond that, there were no ETOLs that were running when we met, as is happening today. We had to look at all key developments that has happened. And indeed, we have concluded that the working class is in trouble in this country. There's nobody to defend the working class. Workers and poor people of this country must stand up and defend themselves.
And that's certainly what Numsa has been saying for many, many years, Mr. Chirwa. But how are you going to now do that, potentially, without the support of the ANC? Are you not making it even more difficult for yourself? Instead of dealing with the ANC and the problem you have with them, keeping their support, instead of trying to go off by yourself. What about that line of thought?
No, we think time has passed for people to vote for the leadership to be in power and sit back and hope that the leadership leading the people will act in the interest of the people. Time has passed. What we're simply raising there is that we think majority of our people who are poor, who are workers themselves, must take ownership, must take responsibility of their own liberation and their own revolution. Amongst other things that we're doing, that we're going to do, is to go out without any rush, because there's no pressure on us, in particular about the elections next year, is to go out, make necessarily research, to look at what has happened in other parts of the world, Brazil, Bolivia, on how people themselves can deepen participatory democracy to an extent that people take ownership and responsibility of their own destiny. Unlike in the current system, where indeed people vote once in 5 years, we sit down and relax and hope that the leadership will deliver. And what we see is the leadership delivering for themselves than delivering for majority of our people.
So it will be different, according to Numsa, if you were to move away from the ANC, as has been suggested. Are you going to form a political party? You will need political backing in order to achieve all of this. It's one thing to be a union, you'll quite well know, but you need the political backing. How are you going to wrangle that? We
are a union, of course. We're clear about that. And part of the resolve that we've resolved to do is that research work, it's a work that as Numsa we can't do alone. We will do research work. We will be engaging those progressive forces, people who are genuine, who are serious about the state of our country today, who are not happy. There are various organizations. Part of the things that we're discussing is a question of a social movement. You know, you don't wake up in the morning and all of a sudden you want to turn the union into a party. That's not the intention. We want to engage as broad organizations as possible, to an extent that when that eventuality happens, it's an eventuality that is supported by a majority of the people. And as a result, those actions are very possible that there could be a party.
A lot of what you're talking about, Mr. Chirwa, if I may interrupt, is a way in which EFF, Mr. Julius Malema, talks as well. Have you thought about joining and backing something like EFF? Because he also fights for workers' rights. He also talks of a living wage, etc. And how would you now, if not forming a party, who could you back?
No, if you read our resolve is very clear, that we're backing no one at the moment, because we're clear that there is no organization of a social that represent a socialist program that we seek to represent, which is a program that seeks to have a government that is able to intervene in the economy and redirect the economy in the interest of the people amid any other pressure that the government could be feeling. So we have not resolved to support anybody. We have said that we recognize the rights of our own members to decide who to vote for next year in the absence of any organization that we think that in theory and practice that organization is capable to take our aspirations forward.
So you're fed up with the ANC is essentially what this is. As part
no,
of
what we're saying is simply that is that from the assessment, what will we'll say to our people, members, that they must go and vote for? Should we say they must go and vote for ATOLs? Should we say they must go and vote for you for its subsidy? These are real development that has taken place. And as a result, we found ourselves in a very difficult position, which historically we have not found ourselves at this situation.
Let's talk about these e-tolls. You mentioned, of course, it's concern not just for your members as well, but for a lot of people in Gauteng as well, this march on e-tolls. How far are you going to go with this? Because this is a lot of people talking about, not necessarily Numsa, of course, but others referring to it as civil disobedience, trying to get the whole system to collapse. Is that something Numsa supports?
No, look, our position has been quite clear since the beginning of our campaign, the Cosatu campaign, which we participated within that campaign, that this system is nothing else but a burden on the working class people, on poor people. It will obviously have dire effects to the economy. In fact, at the moment, it is even a burden from at the level of administration. It's a nightmare as we speak.
We know this, Mr. Chirwa. What are you going to do?
We're going to proceed. Our call, we've made a simple call that if we want this system to collapse, we must make a simple thing. We must not buy e-tax. We must not pay the e-tolls. That's the call.
Sanral will tell you that you're breaking the law. That's the call that.
Yes, we know that. We're simply saying to our people that let's all do this.
Break the law.
And when we do this, so that we can all have criminal records for refusing to agree to a policy that really is an injustice to our people. Commodifying public roads is injustice. And this is what we stand to represent, to fight against all forms of injustices, discrimination, and any other thing that we think is against human rights. So we're simply making again our call that people must not pay. And secondly, if need be that we must all go to jail, let us all be arrested. Because
all 300,000 of your members will go to jail for that call.
Not only 300, no, go beyond. It's not only our members. Some of our members are not even traveling between Joburg and Pretoria. All the road users must be arrested, must go to jail. If need be, they must have a criminal record. I can assure you, it is the only way in which we can collapse this system.
I want to ask you this. You have put out a call to recall President Jacob Zuma. You aren't happy with him. If not President Zuma, who? As a last question to you.
Who to do what?
Who to lead the country if not President Jacob Zuma?
Look, our call was very simple, that we've got the responsibility to ensure that we maintain in this country the legacy of President Mandela. And secondly, we've got the responsibility to ensure that in the sea of poverty in our country today, that the leadership act morally, not immoral. And the Congress has concluded that what we have came to witness, in particular in the Nkandla saga, in which 200 million was spent, we think it's a slap in the face of poor people.
So President Zuma, according to you, has acted immorally. Is that what you're saying? President Zuma has acted immorally. That's your stance?
No, the point that we're making is that act in itself constitute that. That act in itself, what does it say to ordinary people? It simply says that in this country there's money, but unfortunately that money cannot be used to deal with challenges that are confronting ordinary people. But that money can be used to address other matters which
Surely you thought of an alternative, Mr. Chirwa. If not President Zuma, who? You must have thought about this. You're doing your research.
That's not where we are. The point that we're making, that we think that in this country we deserve a leadership that will help us to ensure that all what Mandela have fought for, which is a leadership who is prepared to act in the interest of the people, all what Mandela has taught for, that to be in leadership, it's about saving the people, not saving yourself. We think that that's what all of us we need to be looking at. That's all of us what we need to be fighting for. To us, it's not about name. We're not raising a personal matter on this question. We're raising a principle that indeed there's no one that must be allowed. Otherwise, those who fought against apartheid would have fought for nothing. There's no one person who must be allowed.
So it's a policy of legacy, and that's what you're trying to get back to what was so important all those years ago.
Not only that, but for most importantly, to ensure that we put South Africa in a new trajectory. And that trajectory is to say that, yes, there's political democracy that we've achieved, very good, it's important, but there's a second stage. That democracy cannot be complete when majority of our people, who today half of our poor people are living in dire poverty, can't be a sustained democracy. That is only enjoyed by the few. Those are some of the things that we're raising, that in this country, democracy and freedom is only enjoyed by those that found themselves at a higher ladder of the economy. But majority of our people are not. If you go to farms today, speak to farm workers, it's a dream to them that indeed in this country there was 1994, because they still live in the very same untransformed sectors. Untransformed economic sectors that we have today, industries, are still untransformed. So there are still challenges that are still confronting us in this country.
Very big calls that you're making, and we're going to watch this very closely. Thank you very much indeed for your time coming in today. The newly elected, as I throw my piece of paper away, don't stress, Mr. Chirwa, it's quite okay. The newly elected president of Numsa, Andrew Chirwa, talking to us about e-tolls, the elections, the ANC, and also what is happening within his union. We're back in just a moment.
No more. eNCA.com.